Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. Well, our weekly guest, Steve Pokin of the Springfield News Leader, is kind enough to join us once again in the studio. Steve, thank you so much for being here. And, this week you spoke with a young black woman from here in Springfield, and she detailed some tough experiences she had growing up here in town and what she's doing now.
Her name is Mia Jones, and she's been very much involved in Black Lives Matter. In fact, she formed the Springfield chapter a couple years ago. She kind of organized the Juneteenth celebration, which is a celebration of the end of slavery. In June here in Springfield, there was a march that she participated in. And she's now got a new group going called Community Change. And the idea there is that she's actually started a community garden, and the part of the process is to help people, primarily minority organizations, minority people, to be a little more self-sufficient and be able to grow some of their own food, and to be able to save some money financially, as well as being a voice for bringing to light the black experience in Springfield. And when I talked to her, she lives on North Clay in Springfield. I said, "Have you experienced racism in Springfield?" And she said, "Oh, most definitely." And she told me a couple of stories that are, in large part, shaped her views and made her into a community activist. And one was when she was just 5 years old. She's got an older brother and older sister, and they were with their mom. And so Mia told me the story, but she was only 5, so I called her mom and to get her version of it, because she was the adult. And it's a tough story and a tough experience, but this is an experience of being black in Springfield. So Mia's 31, so she was 5 then, so 26 years ago. Her mom had the kids, all 3 of them, ages 5, 6, and 8, went to the west side of Springfield near Scenic Avenue to rent a house. Her mom had already talked to the woman who owned the house, had cleared it. She actually had the keys to the house. The utilities had been turned off and put back in her name. She was moving in. She pulled up. And apparently the woman who owned the house did not know that the family was black. So Mia was there at her mom's side, and the woman was an older white woman, and said, "No, I'm sorry, go back to the other side of town." And she used a harsher word than that. And Mia's mom gave the keys back, and they left. And they were horrified. The kids were crying. And Mia remembered a detail of that that's kind of frozen in her mind, is that the owner of the house apparently had had throat cancer, so she had like a voice box. So these disparaging remarks were said in a very strange, robotic voice that Mia can still hear today. So in part, that's part of the answer to my question, have you experienced racism? So, and then when she went to Doling Elementary School, she was one of the few blacks in the school. Doling is since closed. It's no longer a school. But the kids kind of tormented her about her hair was different. They pulled the barrettes out of her hair and make fun of her, and so she struggled through that. And then when she went to Parkview High School, which you are a graduate of, she was involved in just about everything. She was an A student. She was involved in speech and debate. She was a member of the Vikettes. The school nickname is the Vikings, so that's the dance team. But she created the Black Alliance Club for her and other black students, although there were about 25 members. Not all of them were black, but they had their own black dance club. They did stepping. There was more hip-hop, more urban. And she tells the story that they practiced and practiced, and eventually they performed a couple times at Missouri State Her mom seems to recall that they performed at a black sorority at Missouri State, but they could never perform at their home high school. Well, no matter the talent show or the assembly, they're always told, we're out of time. We're out of time. And to this day, Mia thinks that they were discriminated against because this was something new, something that she felt was part of her roots. So she tells me the story, and it's going to be in Sunday's paper, of she and the other 12 girls who are on the team, they're all black. They decided, we're not taking no for an answer. We're just, when the moment comes, we're just going to run out there and do our routine. They did that, and to her surprise, she thinks maybe the administration suspected they were going to do that. Immediately, several police officers ran out there, according to Mia, and Mia said, let's do it. If you need to step on their feet, step on their feet. So they did their routine, and immediately, when they were done, so they got to do it, and they were taken to the administrator's wing. And initially there was talk that they were all going to be suspended out of school, but it was, her mom recalls that it was a week of in-school suspension. And that's the only time she ever got in trouble. And it was doing something that she felt was, looking back, is on the road to activism. And she's been very much involved recently. She's a single mom with 2 kids, a girl age 7 and a little boy age 3. And she does a variety of things for work. She's got a cosmetology license. She's got a real estate license.
Does she think, and I don't know if you all were able to touch base on this or not, does she think racial equality in Springfield is getting better or worse over the years?
It's getting better. Well, when you compare it to elementary school, you know, in terms of somebody flat out saying, I'm not renting you, get out of here. Pretty much those days, we think, are gone. But it still exists. And part of what she sees as her calling is to call for justice and to point those things out when they happen.
And the story is going to be in Sunday's News Leader?
It is, yes.
All right, very good. Steve Pokin of the Springfield News Leader. Steve, thanks again for coming in, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be back with more Ozarks Tonight right after this.